Hello, Alex RC Freak, coming at you with another video of my green 8S X Max, traxxas X Max. Now this is a highly requested video of mine, or highly requested video that people have been asking me to do, and so I'm doing my best to do it for you. So basically what it is here, I drove this vehicle one time, and this stock ESC is like maybe an 80-90 amp ESC, maybe. I don't know for sure, there's no actual documentation proving that, but it feels like it. And throttle response, it just feels like you have to give it a lot of gas for it to get going. It just doesn't feel very good, honestly. In my opinion, it's really not that great of an ESC. Plus, it's a traxxas ESC, so really, in the end of the day, what can you say about it? Not much, because it's junk at the end of the day. But anyway, it's a good truck. The electronics are crap. The motor is okay. I like the motor. But anyway, this is an install video on how to install a Hobbywing Maxx 6 ESC. Now the Maxx 6 is a direct drop-in without having any speed control custom mounting plate. So I put automotive 3M double-sided tape on here. I used Fuser. This is plastic adhesion promoter. You're supposed to spray it on the speed control when you go to stick it, double-sided tape down, because it helps make it stay on very well. So I strongly recommend it. You do not need it. If you don't have it, that's fine. You can still do it and just stick it to it. It'll be alright. Now I also put some of that tape on the switch. So this has 10 gauge wire, positive and negative. I'm running the Castle 6.5mm bullet style connectors, male. If you see in there, they're male ends. So this has 6.5mm female bullet plugs right on the ESC. These are the capacitors. These store electricity so you don't have voltage ripple. Voltage ripple is a fluctuation in the current when the vehicle, when you get on it hard and stuff like that, that can blow an ESC. Too much fluctuation. So these store power in here and electrons in here, and so that way you don't have constant fluctuation. So anyway, but this is the ESC we're going to install in this beast. Let's get started. So, set the body aside. Now let's get this light up in here, so that way we got good lighting. Alright, so this is the speed control right here. This blue thing right here is the speed control. This is the receiver box, the main part. This is the wire part. This section where the wires kind of go through into the receiver box. This is the motor cooling fan. There's two of them in here underneath. This is the motor cooling fins. And obviously these are the battery wires. So basically what you're going to want to do is unplug these. They are tight. So unplug them like so. Take your 564 or 2mm Allen. I like these Allens with a bigger handle. They are nice for gripping, and this long Allen part right here is really nice for getting to the tight screws that are deep in there. So there's two screws on each side of the speed control, which let's see if I can get you a better picture. There's one right there, and there's one right here. So you just take it, loosen it. Now I'm not using a drill, I'm not doing anything like that because it's very easy to strip out stuff. So basically you just loosen it. It doesn't take that long. Like I said, this only's been ran once. I wasn't too happy with it. I wasn't really that impressed, in my opinion. I knew I wasn't going to be impressed with the stock ESC. I just knew I wasn't going to be impressed. So, this is the cooling fan cage housing with a switch on it right there. Not much there. This is the cooling fan itself, what keeps the ESC cool. These are the capacitors right in here. There's 3 of them, it looks like. Some pretty good sized ones. Just take this thing out. This thing has a 10 amp fuse right here, right on the side. This is a 10 amp fuse, so blow this fuse. Instead of having that fusible link right here, it has a fuse that you can blow, and it'll blow, and then you can replace that. So, anywho, you're going to need to take off these screws. These are 2.5mm. So, what you're going to want to do is just take these screws. Now I strongly recommend do not use power tools with this kind of stuff. Personally I don't like power tools. in an absolute worst case scenario, if you're at a race and you have to get something done super quick to get back on the race, then maybe. But I still don't like it. I don't care if you adjust the clutch. You know, it doesn't, I don't like it. That's just, you strip out stuff and then people always complain, oh, it's stripped out, it's this, it's that. It's just not cool. Now, these tops can be sometimes hard to get out. So keep that in mind when you take these screws out. So my suggestion is take these screws out the side completely. Sometimes it can be kind of a pain, like this one's going to be right here. So take these screws out of each side of their 2.5mm hex head. And I strongly recommend, again, picking up a nice set of wrenches like this. They're made by Integi. Those are the ones I recommend. They're about $40 for a set of, I think, 5, maybe 6. Don't quote me on that. It's either 5 or 6. So, I love them. They're great. And the tips are nice and hard. That's one of the only good things that Integi makes. So, you got the screws right here. They're all the same length. So, just make sure, set those aside. Take off this cap. Now, sometimes, like I say, they fight you. This one actually came off a lot easier than I thought. But this is the inside. It has a little rubber grommet plug. And this little clear piece of plastic inside here. But that just lets you know what color the LED light is on your receiver. So anyway, you want to take this off. Now here's something very important. This stuff right here is dielectric grease. It's basically a waterproof grease. The water and moisture can't get in. So it is very important to get some dielectric grease and put some on there. Or if you have some already, you can just put a little dab on there when you go to reassemble. Very smart thing to do. And you can also put a speck on the seal itself, which sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. It depends. I don't really drive my vehicles in any water just because they're too expensive and I just think it's stupid. But anywho, let's get started here. So you find the, normally it's in channel 2 is throttle port. This is your ESC wire. So you just take a 1.5mm wrench, or Allen, I guess if you want to call it that, and you just kind of very, very gently stick it on through here. Now just work it through. This is just patience here. You just want to very, very gently. You do not want to damage that insulation on the wires. You want to make sure that you're not, destroying anything, and the ESC pops out just like that. There's a fuse here. This is the button. There's 3 LEDs here. They'll let you know if you overheat your ESC. That's what they're for. And it looks like you got some, must be for the traxxas when you send it in for warranty. This must be how they check the firmware to make sure what firmware you have. And this is the rest of it. So basically, yeah, that's the ESC. This is 12 gauge wire. It says 10 gauge on the insulation there, but it's 12 gauge wire. The insulation here is a little thicker, but this is 12 gauge wire. It doesn't, to me, this isn't anything that's 10 gauge to me. It's a really, if it's a 10 gauge, it's a lying 10 gauge. I'll say that much. My honest opinion. So anyway, bam. It's out. That easy. That easy. That's all it takes to get it out. So, now let me just say something here. This flat area right here, see how clean that is? You want to keep it that clean when you go to stick the new ESC down. So, here's how I'm going to do it here. You got the ESC right here, right? You take off this double-sided tape. Sorry about my hands maybe being in the way. You take it off. Get a little corner of it, take it off. Now this stuff is super sticky, so I hold these wires, the receiver wire and the switch wire. I hold them. You want to hold this out of the way. You want all these wires out of the way. This is your temperature wire, and this is your fan cooling wire. This is a temperature wire right here. This one with this little stuff on it right here, that's your temperature wire for your motor. So that way, you can get your motor temps and stuff with the traxxas thing. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to drop this in here, like so. Now it drops in there very nicely. And I just kind of want to lightly press down on the edges. Do not press down on the fan. Do not press down on this, where the cooling fan plug-in goes. You just want to press on the edges where aluminum fins are. Just kind of do a nice little firm. kind of jiggle it a little bit side to side, so that way it really grips in there good. And that thing's stuck on there like, yeah, dang, that thing's stuck on there like glue, so I'm practically lifting up the truck with it. So, anyway, on this particular speed control, there is no correct orientation to plug these wires in on the motor. Just plug them in. On this speed control, Hobbywing speed control, it doesn't matter. Stating on their instructions, I strongly recommend you read the instructions. So, you take your wire here. This goes into your channel 2 throttle port. Channel 1 is steering, in case if anyone's wondering. So, you can take these wires, kind of stick them right down in the side again. Take your 1.5mm wrench, gently push them down, so that way they're out of the way. And they'll stay out of the way, that way. So, you just kind of want to gently push them down, use your finger, you know. You don't need to go crazy, like hardcore pushing them down or anything like that. So, anyway, you want to take this wire. Now, note, there's black, red, and white. You want to make sure you match that up with your other wires. Black, red, and white. This is for your steering right here. Channel 1 steering. Channel 2 is always throttle. So, just stating that as a fact. So, take your 1.5mm driver. Now, you may have to take out the receiver to actually get this thing to come up, but once you get it up, it's not that bad. It's just getting it up. It's kind of and over this little receiver box is sometimes kind of challenging depending on how close it is to the opening here. And I'm sorry my finger's in the way at the moment. I know you're not being able to see that very easily, but yeah. So you just pull this through, just like that. So, you want to give it yourself a little bit of slack. Now keep in mind, you want to keep this flat, alright? Now see how that wire is stuck in there flat? Nice like that? That's how you want it. This is your switch. This does not go in your receiver box. This is a receiver box, this is your switch. You're going to have to mount this somewhere else. Mount it anywhere. You can build a little tab and stick it right there, stick it right there. You stick it on top of the receiver box, I'll probably do that. I'm not sure yet. But you can stick it anywhere. So, anywho, let's get started here. So, let me just find my channel here. Sorry about me being in the way if my hands are in the way. Now you have, on the stock Traxxas receiver, you have two number 1 channel 1 ports. Those are for dual steering. Keep that in mind. You got excess wire here. Take this, push this antenna wire down. Be very gentle with these wires. You do not need to man-hulk the wires around. You don't need to jerk them. Do not jerk them. Make sure when you put the top of the receiver box down, you do not pinch any of them. That is very, very important. So, just kind of stick it down like this. Kind of gently roll it all up in there. You know, this thing, the antenna wire, you want to do this. I'm going to get a little bit of grease and stick it on there. So, this is Traxxas grease. It's used for receiver boxes. So, you just want to put a little bit on your foam here, see? It's a little bit. Just, you don't need to drench it, just a tiny bit on your foam. That's all you need. So that way when you put it down, it'll seal. So just gently, just kind of rub it around with your finger, kind of evenly. There you go, get it around. Should have used rag to wipe that off, but not the end of the world. Now this is very, very, very important. So if you notice these wires right here, let me see if I can get you a better view. These wires right in here. Make sure they're all flat in between these two little plastic things. In between here, make sure the wire's right in between the center of these two things. So that way you do not get pinching or anything like that, or you know, you don't want that. You don't. You can cause damage to your electrical components. You want to make sure you get that in right. You really want to watch that. And you don't need a lot of this antenna wire out. So make sure your wires are sticking down. Sorry about my hand being in the way there. I'm just trying to get my antenna wire to cooperate here. These always can sometimes be a little bit of a pain to get them to cooperate. You just gotta use your little, that's why I like these Allens, because you could do this and you can stick it So this thing's being a little bit of a pain in the rear. You know, sometimes they just don't quite go on as wonderfully as you'd expect them to. Just make sure you don't... Yeah, it's hitting... So this ESC wire needs to come out a little bit and be pushed down, because this is hitting this right here. So I need to push that down a little bit. So like I say, you just grab it, pull it out with your little wrench, push this down. You just grab it and push them down, kind of work it out. Take it, stick it in between, drop this thing down like that. Be very, very gentle. Drop it down like that, and now it should, not saying it will, cooperate. Should be able to get your, have it drop right on it. So yes, it went in. Want to stick your bolts in, hold it down, evenly do these. Now you don't need to crank these tight. You want them snug, but you don't need a freaking man-hulk anything. Just get them tight, you know, maybe a little tighter than snug. It's all you need. You don't need to go hog wild or anything like that. Not unnecessary. Okay, so make sure to check your polarity. Black, red in the center, white on the inside towards this little sensor link here. So anyway, this is the top of the receiver box. Stick it in. What I like to do is stick it in forward like this. Take it, push gently, very gently, push these wires in. Take it very gently. Man, pops in just like that. Very easily. You got your 2.5mm screws to stick in again. Just take it, stick it in like that. Alright, so basically that's all you gotta do. And then this, you can mount the switch right here. That's where I suggest to mount it, because it's a flat surface. It's at a little bit of an angle. You can stick your hand in through the side right here and bam, push it on. The body is super easy to take off. You can take off the body, press it, bam, you're done. Stick it right here. And you know, the nice thing about being double-sided taped, you can always replace this tape and then re-stick it again. So that is my install video. And also you want to make sure you get a long enough wire. This is like a foot long. Yeah, this is a foot long. This whole wire is exactly a foot long, and these are the stock length wires. So that way you have enough room to go through the whole side. If your battery has short little cables and you have them coming out, the cables out here, but your wire is kind of short here, you're not going to reach. So this way I can reach the full length of the batteries with ease. With ease. So very important, I think. And yeah, thank you for watching the video. You want to make sure to plug these straight in. Forgot about that actually. They pop right in. You will not need to solder anything else. And that's pretty much it. There's no orientation with these. You got the motor fan. It's nice and it's nice and tight in there. And that's pretty much it. I strongly recommend getting the Wi-Fi module to make sure that your firmware is updated and all the parameters. Like, I like the LiPo cutoff to be set at 3.2 volts per cell. I think it's very smart instead of 3 volts per cell. Some people do 3 volts per cell, but you risk damaging the LiPo or dropping a cell of the LiPo. So 3.2 volts per cell. I strongly recommend the Wi-Fi Express module is what they call it. Very, very good idea to get. You use your smartphone, Android or iPhone, it'll work on, and you can tune anything on the go. This is the Wi-Fi Express module from Hobbywing. I have never used it yet. Make sure it runs off Wi-Fi, so make sure that you create your own password and your own Wi-Fi name when you do this. It will strongly, it will make it so that way you don't get interference issues, you don't get download problems, anything like that. And I strongly recommend you check the firmware every month on this ESC if it's been sitting for a while. It really, seriously will do you diligence to do that. So this is the Wi-Fi Express module from Hobbywing. This little hologram right here, if you put a code in, it'll let you know that you got a genuine Hobbywing product. There's a lot of people that try to recreate Hobbywing products. This is my first ever experience with Hobbywing products. Usually I prefer Castle Creations because I think that they're the top notch of any electronic brushless RC vehicle. But anyway, I'm going to give them a shot. I hear a lot of good things about the Hobbywing Maxx 6 and the Hobbywing Maxx 5. So I just want to let you know, very, very good idea to do with the Express module. Thank you for watching the video. As always, I really sincerely appreciate all the comments. Let's keep the RCing going. And anyone that has any questions about the install of this, anything like that, make sure you're very gentle with this wire in there. Please feel free to talk to me about it. I'm more than happy to talk about it. As always, Alex the RC Freak. Have a good one. Peace.